Good morning, welcome to another episode of Driver's Garage, or Garage, depending on where in the world you come from. This is my Clio, and today we're going to fit some stuff. We did a track day, Blighton Park, with Javelin, and we broke some stuff. We broke the boost control valve, which was a simple 3-port valve under the engine bay. I'll show you that in a second, and oil some brake fluid. And on the final session of the day, we popped a brake hose, doing about 110, 105, 110 into the wiggler. So yeah, that was terrifying. So what we've done, we're going to upgrade some stuff. I've already done the N75 valve, the turbo boost control valve, but I'll show you that in a second. We're going to upgrade some stuff. So we've got some braided lines from Supreme Motorsport, some ATE Type 200. Hopefully that'll do a bit better because I boiled fluid on first session of the day. And we've got some service stuff as well back at garage, but we'll have a look at that in a bit. So yeah, let's have a look. First thing we need to do, I'll show you that boost valve. N75 valve it's also known as. So under here, bonnet catch-up, got this little valve here. Just a simple 3-port valve. One goes to the actuator, one goes to the turbo, and one vents into there. It's snapped off. It's only the vent, but it just was flopping about and something's liable to break. So I got a new one direct from Renault. Simple fix, popped in there. One of the issues we had, we got a coolant leak. It was a hose right down there, you'll not be able to see it. We've got a hose right down there that goes to the heater matrix. That got a leak. It turned out just to be the bleed valve. Took the old plastic bleed valve out, put a stainless one in, just a little flange bonehead bolt, and that solved that issue. So could we doing a coolant change though, because it got a little bit low. Might have been air bubble or two in there. So yeah. The next thing, we popped a brake line, this brake line specifically, and it didn't half make a mess. So I've got some brake lines, we'll get the wheels off, get it up in the air, and I'll show you the damage. And there we go, up in the air, axle stands, wheel off. So what I ended up doing after Blighton, when I got home, driving it home without any brakes, very safe, do not advise, is put a pair of grips on the brake hose, and on the way home I wrapped a bit of towel around it just to try and reduce the amount of flow. So need to get grips off, this line off, this line off, and have a look at getting the new lines on. Right, so on closer inspection, it seems the brake line itself is definitely the issue. It looked like it at the track, but you can never be 100% sure until you have a look. There's a tiny little split under there which you'll not be able to see. Looks like I've also done a CV boot, so I need to do that. And the tyres have took some chunks out of my arch liner, so might have to raise the suspension, might just remove the arch liner and just leave part of it on. I'm not quite sure, but need to undo this, get the new line on the back of the caliper, which you can just about see there. Another banjo bolt, undo that, get all this off, get the new line in. Right, so what you want to do is this little funny bracket here which holds the line, and these two little bits here. So we need to undo that. I've had that out before, so I can't see that being an issue, but they are prone to seizing and snapping. So if you can, use a little bit of heat, plenty of penetrating fluid, whatnot. I've got a tiny little bit of copper slip on it. Last time I had it removed, stops it seizing up. You get funny corrosion between the steel and the aluminium of the swivel hub. Chuck that to one side, don't lose it. Brackets off. Undo this, undo that. At the back there, we'll try and show you that a bit better. That screw is a T30, I believe. The bolt on the back of the caliper, the banjo bolt, is a 14mm, and the fitting on the line there is an 11. You are supposed to use a proper flared spanner so you don't round it, but I've been putting penetrating fluid on mine for the last couple of days, and it seems to broke straight off, so we're all good. Yeah. Right, it's good practice to have your new line at the ready. Keep your end caps on until the last minute. Stop them getting all full of gunk and whatever else might be knocking about. Put that in a safe place. Then what we're going to do is we are going to clamp this line. We're going to undo the bolt, the banjo bolt at the back, and then put the line there. Feed it round, undo this, and put the new line on that. And then if any fluid does start seeping down, because, you know, gravity, it'll go into the new line instead of all over the floor. I've got a piece of cardboard here as well, just to protect the driveway. So yes, let's undo the banjo bolt. Remember, when it's the bolts facing towards you, it's not righty-tighty, it's lefty-loosey. Completely wrong. It is righty-tighty to loosen, righty-loosey. There we go. That's broke off. Probably a little bit of fluid. Make sure you get a piece of cardboard in place. Get your new line at the ready. And, oh, forgot to clamp the line. Haha, doing very well here. There we go. Don't need to worry about damaging the line because obviously it's damaged anyway. So undo this line. There we go. Oh, lost a bit of brake fluid. It's going to need bleeding anyway. That's why it's useful to have a bit of blue roll knocking about. Lost a bit of fluid out of the top of the caliper there, but like I say, bleed it out so it's not too big a deal. Take a little protective cap off and put it back in the orientation it come out. Make sure you've got your copper washers on as well. There we go. Once you've got it in a couple of threads, it's now all covered in brake fluid, you can use this spanner to help it go in. And once it's nipped up, just stop any fluid leaking out. I'm not going to nip it completely up, just enough to stop it leaking, so you don't want to fatten the crush washers. There we go, that'll do for now. Only lost a tiny bit of brake fluid. We've got a line which I'm going to feed across here, around the back of the shock and into the fitting there, which I know it's a bit dark, but it is a green brake line. And be able to get that one out of the way. So what I'm going to do is lift that one up, out of the way, stay. Put that one ready in place, like so. Oh, I'll do. Leave my blue roll. And get your 11mm spanner. This is where you can lose a bit of fluid, so just be ready to work a bit quick if you can. Like I say, you do want to use a flared spanner for this ideally, but I ain't got one, so don't do what I do. Nope, we're off. It's got a little bracket there, and this line should just, with a little bit of force, wiggle out. Oh, just took my bumper out of my pliers. Jesus. There we go. Old line. Out. Chuck that to one side. New line. Take your protective cap off, don't forget about that. Back through and onto the fitting before it starts dripping through. And once you've tightened that up, simple matter is securing it using the original bracket if you want, or a lot of people just put a P-clip into one of these, onto that like that. But we'll have a look at using the original bracket and go from there. That's that one, tightened up there, cable's run. I'm going to look at getting the original bracket off because it just looks a little bit tidier. Just a simple matter of bending these out, getting these ones out, putting these ones in, bending them back in. Could give it a little tart up if you want, but you know, track car. Right, we managed to save the other bracket. I forgot to press record. All I did was open these two ends up, put them into this one, and then you just need to close them back up, bolt it back on with the original torque screw. Like so. Rip my glove. Mucky hands anyway, so the glove were pointless. There you have it, the line's on. It's attached to the hard line, that's all nipped up nicely. This bracket's on, holding it still, not moving anywhere, not going to chafe on anything. A little bit of slack in there for your steering, and the 14mm banjo's tightened up. Just needs bleeding through and repeat on the other side. Right, time for the rears. Very similar to the fronts, it's just banjos, lines and fittings, so it's not too complicated. The Supreme 6-line kit comes with 2 short lines, which if you look right down there, replaces the 2 tiny lines here. A slightly longer line, which runs in place of this one. It goes from here, up here, round here, and replaces this right to the caliper. And then a longer line, which is exactly the same on the other side. It goes up there, right down the beam, and then up and does the same thing on the other side. Car's up in the air. It's just a simple matter of undoing fittings, running lines, and see how we go. If we get under the car, it makes it a bit easier to see. You've got these 2 soft lines here, which go into these fittings, which then go up. One goes up to that wheel, the other one goes over the beam here and into these clips. So I want to pop them out these clips ready, run the other line ready in them clips. So all you need to do is attach it up when you disconnect it and lose less fluid onto the floor then. Still going to bleed it all through, but it just makes cleanup a little easier. That's how the line runs. You can see it goes into the caliper there, through the original clips. The original hose is still there, so just ignore that. Got plenty of slack. It goes down the beam. So what we can do now is crimp this somewhere, crimp this, undo this, get this end in, run that cable a bit nicer, make sure the angle's right on the other end, undo the other end, and attach it together. What I've ended up doing is cutting the hard line, so I hope this works, because I haven't got a flare nut spanner, and I'm hoping the ring end will do a better job. Don't use your tools like this, you'll avoid your warranty. There we go. Other side, we've popped it back out of the clips, it's nice and loose, gives plenty of play, because somehow, let it wrap around there, I need to unwrap it, you need to get that angle into there. So there we go. And they're on, all nipped up, runs with the clip nicely, down, not rubbing against anything. Could do a cable tie or two just to tidy that up, make it look nice. Show it other side, might be a bit windy. That's that. This one doesn't fit into the clip. The angles of the fittings are wrong. So if a couple of cable ties onto that there, that'll sit nicely. They're all tightened up nicely into the brackets so they're not going to rattle. The original soft lines between the beam and the body, which these replace here, were seized in, so I just had to faff about with a bit just to get them going. But it come out easy enough with just hand tools and a bit of penetrating fluid, so yeah, just needs bleeding up and take it for a test drive. Test driven, drives fantastic. You have to pardon wind, lines didn't half help, feels so much better on pedal. No leaks anywhere as far as I can see, all bled nicely. A couple of fastish runs from like road speeds to 30 mile an hour, 20 mile an hour, some big stands, and fantastic. Can't wait to test them at Brighton now. Cheers.